Hey, welcome back. So we've learned a lot of new syntax, dictionary methods, dictionaries. We're going to continue on with some heavier stuff after this video when we talk about dictionary comprehension. But for now, we're going to take a quick detour to talk about data modeling using lists and dictionaries together. So we haven't really seen putting them together yet. What we're going to do is model a playlist. So here's an example playlist from Spotify, but it could be this, any playlist from your iTunes account or from whatever you use. The key idea is that a playlist has a title. I think this one was from when I was trapped on a really long bus ride between Argentina and Chile. There's an author, and then there's a list of songs. And each song has a title. It has an artist or multiple artists, so that's important. Like in this case, this is a remix, and there's 2 credited artists. Then there's the album and the date it was added to the playlist, which we don't have to model that, and the duration. And then on top of that, there's an order to the actual songs. And that's important, right? A lot of people spend time ordering their playlists. I did not in this one, but a lot of people labor over that. So we want to make sure that there's an order. So how would we actually model this in a single variable? And if you want to try it on your own, don't worry about actually replicating all of these songs, and some of them are pretty long names and remixes and all of that. You could just put, dummy data, whatever you want. Just try modeling 1 or 2 songs in a playlist, just so we have a feel for how this would actually function. So if you want to try just making a variable, call it playlist, set it equal to something that contains all of this information, then go ahead and give it a shot. Or I'll do it right now. Okay, so I'm going to hop over here and make a file called playlist.py. And I'll start off by just making a variable called playlist. And here's what we have to consider. What is our top level data structure we're going to use? So it needs to be a data structure. We're not going to put everything in a string. We're not going to use a number. That wouldn't work. We need to use either a list or a dictionary. You might think a list would be best because this is a list of songs, right? But the problem is we also need to store information like the name of the playlist and the author. So because of that, I'm going to make the entire thing a dictionary. So I'll have title, Patagonia Bus, author or creator, Cold Steel, and then I'll have a key called maybe contents or songs. Songs is probably better, and that will be a list. So it might look something like this, where we would have title, we need quotes, and title might be, what did I call it? Patagonia Bus. Oh, that was such a miserable bus ride. And then we would have author and set that to Cold Steel or whoever. And then there would be songs, which is actually equal to a list. And for formatting purposes, let's indent these just like this. There we go. Well, let's just test it out. So ideally, we won't see anything. Whoops. Okay, we don't see anything. Good. Okay, so then inside of here, each song, we need to store a couple of pieces of information. What do we care about? We need a title. We need, what do we call this, artist or artists. We need the album name and then the duration. And all of those are actually going to be keys inside of a dictionary. So each song itself is a dictionary inside of a list. And the order that they're in the list will dictate the order that they're in the playlist. So the first thing in our list will be this song. And the only other nuance is that artist itself needs to store more than one artist. So a single string won't work like it might for a title or for an album name. What we're going to need to use is a list. So let's try that. So I'll indent this as well. And then each song is going to be a dictionary. So each one has a title. And I'll just put fake data in here, so I'll just call it song title. Or let's just go with song 1. And then we have artists. And actually, it might be better to call it artist because most of the time there's only one. And then we'll have a list. And we'll just go with, let's just say Blue, my cat. And then after that, we had, let's just do duration. And that could be a number. How would we model a song duration? Well, we could just do a number like a float, like this. Well, that'd be a very long song, maybe like 2.5 for 2 minutes 30 seconds. Or we could do a string. Or once we talk about dates and times, we could worry about that. But for now, let's just do a float. And then we have a whole other song. I'll just duplicate this and call this one song 2. And artist this time will have 2. Maybe it's a remix. So there's the original, which was by Kitty, and the second one, which was by DJ Cat, which is the remixer, and duration, it's a remix, it's a lot longer, 5.25. Okay, so you can see now where we're going with this. Let me just add one more so we have another piece of data in here. And this one will be called Meow, Meow, sure. And this one is by Garfield, and it is 2 minutes exactly. Okay, so we have 3 songs. There's an order to our playlist. There's an author to the playlist and a title to the playlist. So we have a dictionary with keys and values. The song's key is another list. And those lists, each item in the list is another dictionary. And the artist property, the key in the dictionary, is a corresponding list. So we have a lot of nested data. So let's just check for syntax errors. We need to add a comma here. And now if I run it, there's no syntax errors. Cool. So let's say I just wanted to do something like total up the duration so I could figure out how long this entire playlist is, what the entire playtime is. So we could do something like playlist, and it's a dictionary, so we need to iterate over which part. Well, we really only care about the songs. So that's playlist songs, right? And that gives us a list. So we can do for song in playlist songs. And we could start by just printing the song title or something. Print song title. Let's see what happens now. Song 1, song 2, meow meow. Okay, but rather than title, what we really want is the duration. So we could just print the duration, or we could sum them together. And the easiest way to do that with what we know now is to make a variable, and we could just call it total length, set it to 0, and then just do total length plus equals, and I'll just do song duration. And then at the end, let's just do print total length. 9.75. And again, we're not really worrying about how we're storing times at this point. There's better ways of storing dates and times, but for now, 9.75 is the total of all the things, all the songs in our playlist, and that's one way of finding that information out. Okay, I'll leave this at that. I just wanted to show you a more real-world example of how we would actually store data. And if we actually got this data back from like the Spotify API, which when we talk about APIs, we'll get very similar data back. It's almost always a bunch of nested dictionaries with lists inside of them and other dictionaries and then lists inside of those, and it keeps going. And often it's more complex than this. I mean, you could imagine Spotify has a lot more data for each song. Even something like genre. If we wanted to add genre to this, almost every song in Spotify outwardly has more than one genre, but then internally they classify each song probably in 100 different ways about how upbeat its lyrics are. You know, is it good for a rainy day? What BPM is the tempo, all these different things that they're actually storing. So there's a lot of properties. Anyway, so that's a quick little break from talking about a bunch of more difficult dictionary topics. We're moving on now after this to dictionary comprehension. So I don't know, get ready, do some stretches, drink some coffee. See you soon.